name is Wiley Brazier V, and I want to thank all of you for joining us here today. We would be remiss if we stood out for our children today and did not take the opportunity to take a moment of silence for those who lost their lives in Connecticut this past Friday and their families who are still dealing with this horrific tragedy. So before we get started, please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. I'm the parent of a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old, as well as an educator and an administrator here in Baton Rouge. Baton Rouge is my home. I grew up and attended public schools most of my life. I lived in the north side of town, the lower income portion, and I really never thought that college was a viable option for me. I was fortunate enough to graduate high school and started college, but as I look back, I wasn't as prepared as I should have been. College was a rough transition for me. I ended up dropping out and started working in construction, which is a great and honorable profession, but I soon realized that it was not the best fit for me. But while it was not, and I realized that in order for me to change the situation, I needed to get an education. While it was not easy, I went back and started school again, and I made it. But I had to work harder, I had to study more, and push myself to make it through. While my story is not unique, this is my story, but it's not just unique just to me. But when it comes to my kids, I want to be sure that this isn't their story. Great effective teachers are the best thing that we can give a child to make sure that they learn and are prepared for school. Act 1, passed during the last legislative session, goes a long way to make sure that every child has a great teacher in every classroom and gets the same great opportunity to learn, grow, and succeed in college. My kids are blessed enough that as a parent, we have the resources and ability to make sure that our kids are in schools with effective teachers. But I didn't always have that option, and it's just simply not the case for all students in public school systems. Today, as a parent and as an educator, I speak on behalf of my children in support of giving every child a great teacher and giving principals the ability to make hiring and firing decisions that keep great teachers in the classroom and remove ineffectiveness, and giving principals the opportunity to reward and retain great teachers. But I stand here today with other parents, educators, and advocates in support of Act 1 for all those kids who are now living the same story I did as a youth. Together, I want every child to have a great teacher and get a high-quality education that they deserve, and to help them graduate from high school prepared for success in college. Now I'd like to introduce Ms. Rain Martin, the Executive Director of Stand for Children, Louisiana.
Good morning. My name is Rain Martin. I'm the Executive Director of Stand for Children, Louisiana. I grew up in rural Louisiana, and at the age of 12, I decided I wanted to be a teacher. I knew that if you wanted to help people believe in themselves and reach their dreams, you should teach. I went on to college and majored in education. Again, I knew that I wanted to become a teacher because I wanted to instill confidence in knowledge in as many young people as possible. However, I had to change my major because early in my freshman English class, I learned that I could not write a basic paragraph that was not full of grammatical errors and misspellings. Realizing that I could not pursue most professions successfully without the ability to write coherently, I switched my college major to English in my freshman year. Unfortunately, in Louisiana, we see this way too often. We graduate kids who are not prepared to pursue their dreams that they develop for themselves and their life at a very early age. We know that every child can learn, but for some reason, we haven't given them all what they desperately need in order to fulfill their life dream. And that's a great teacher in every single classroom. A well-supported teacher who helps every one of their children learn, grow, and achieve. This past session, we took a tremendous step forward giving every child a great teacher by passing what is now known as Act 1, and the legislature should be commended for their great work. Since that time, districts have been actively working to implement Act 1, with 100% of districts having passed new reduction in force policies that prioritize performance over seniority. And several districts have already updated their salary policies to make sure that great teachers are actually being rewarded for their impact on children. Change is always difficult, but it is the right thing for our teachers and our students to make this change. To take a step backwards would be to tell districts and educators that we don't believe in their interest and their ability to move Louisiana from the bottom of the list in education. Today, this legislation is being challenged despite the fact that citizens across Louisiana have indicated tremendous support for improved teaching and learning in our state. 70% of registered voters support legislation that increases the standards that teachers must meet in order to receive tenure. Additionally, nearly 60% favor legislation that increases control for school principals so that they can make the decisions that is in the best interest of their kids. Regardless of the outcome today, Stand for Children Louisiana, with our parents, educators, and partners, will remain relentless in our efforts to give every single child a great education so that they can reach their dreams. We will work to make sure that the difference makers, the great teachers in our state, get recognized and rewarded based upon their students meeting high standards for achievement. We'll continue to work hard to make sure that principals and superintendents and not elected school boards have the ability to identify great teachers and the autonomy and authority to hire great teachers and remove ineffective ones from the classroom so that all Louisiana students have a great teacher that they deserve. Lastly, we will continue to support and work hard to make sure that teachers have the tools and resources they need to be a great teacher. We will continue to stand with parents, educators, and partners until every single child in Louisiana receives the kind of education they deserve to pursue their dreams. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rain. Let me now introduce to you Khadijah Thompson and Cheryl Lott, parents of students here in Baton Rouge.
Good morning. My name is Khadijah Thompson. I have two daughters, ages 17 and 2. I moved to Baton Rouge when I was 9 years old. As I entered the 9th grade, I was blessed to be entering the 9th grade at Baton Rouge High. While being blessed to receive an education from Baton Rouge High, I knew that I would be different. Since I had just had my first child the summer before I entered Baton Rouge High, I knew that I was at a slight disadvantage. Despite looking different, never once did the teachers at Baton Rouge High expect any different of me than they expected of any of the other students there. They expected that I succeed and learn as all students at Baton Rouge High. Likewise, they worked hard to make sure that I was learning and growing every day. They went the extra mile to be effective for every single child, not just the ones they thought would be successful and could go on to college. They were in the classroom to teach, and their priority was making sure that all children were learning. To fast forward a few years back, when my 17-year-old started to have social struggles in the classroom, I made a really tough decision to move my daughter from a currently rated B school to a school that is academically unacceptable. Very early on, I reached out to my daughter's teacher to conference a bit regarding her performance and her success at the school. Like most parents I know, I work a full-time job, a 9-to-5 schedule, and with that comes a full schedule. So I asked the teacher if we could meet when I got off work. Her response to that was that she only allotted 30 minutes of her time in the middle of the day to conference with teachers. Because of that, we could not meet. Because of my own experiences, my daughter having anything less than a great effective teacher who was focused on my daughter's success was absolutely unacceptable. And so I did what any parent who had the capacity to do so did. I moved her out of that school as quickly as possible, promising myself that I would never make that mistake again. It was only then that I realized how blessed we were to be able to seek out great teachers for my daughter and move her to a better school. It was also then that I realized how unfortunate it is that so many of our children get forgotten and left behind in the same classrooms that I removed my daughter out of. This should never ever be the case. I know that teachers are game changers for kids. In fact, the number one thing we can do to make sure every child learns and succeeds is to give them a great, effective teacher in every classroom every year. And that is what Act 1 is all about, keeping the best teachers in the classroom and getting rid of the ineffective ones who don't have time to help our children. While I mentioned one bad experience, the reality is that most teachers care deeply about their students and they work very hard to be effective in helping students learn. And that's another reason that I support Act 1, because it makes sure that great teachers are identified and rewarded, and it gives principals decision-making authority to keep great teachers, get rid of bad ones, and reward those whose students are making gains. While I speak here today, as a parent of two daughters who wants them to get the very best education and achieve every dream they've ever had, I stand here today in favor of Act 1 on behalf of my daughters, friends, and classmates who were left behind in that same classroom that I removed my daughter from. They deserve the very best education, just as my child does. They deserve the most effective and greatest teachers, just as my child does. They too deserve the opportunity to learn, succeed, and achieve every dream they've ever had, just like my kids. And if we don't make the choice to stand for them, then we have made the choice to leave them behind and taken their dreams away from them forever. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Cheryl Lott. I'm the parent of 3 children here in Baton Rouge, going to East Baton Rouge Parish Public Schools. You know, as a result of Act 1, parents and grandparents across our state can breathe a sigh of relief because they know that that ineffective teacher that they have at some point had to deal with and that their child has had to deal with will now be given the incentive and the resources that they need to become effective teachers. And even better, they know that those highly effective teachers who have made a world of difference in the life of a child that they love will finally be recognized and rewarded for their work. In 2011, Louisiana ranked 48th out of 50 states in student achievement for K through 12. That is completely unacceptable. Act 1 is a step in the right direction. This year, our legislature passed some really bold moves in order to change that statistic. The change is hard, and sometimes change is even painful. But in this case, change cannot wait. Our children need highly effective teachers in every classroom. It's the right thing to do. And let's make no bones about it. Trying to repeal Act 1 is adult politics, and our children are the ones being stuck in the middle of it. Continuing to keep Act 1 is the right thing to do, and that's why parents, teachers, administrators, and an overwhelming majority of the voting public believes in Act 1. We need to keep Act 1 and assure that our children get the very best every day. Thanks.
Thank you both. At this time, I'd like to bring up Vicki Abear, an educator in Lafayette Parish, and Ms. Bree Quinn, who lives and teaches here in Baton Rouge.
Hi, my name is Vicki Abear, and I've been a teacher in Lafayette Parish for 17 years. I started out in the retail management business and decided that I was ready to leave that field and started school to get a degree in teaching. I worked full-time while going to school, and I know there were plenty of others who did the same thing or are doing the same to be a teacher. I'm sure you can imagine that in 17 years of teaching, I have seen plenty of ups and downs and have been through plenty of transitions. But the same was also true during my time in retail. In retail, you see, you're only as good or as valuable as yesterday's sales and numbers. Every single day, I would look at my numbers, I would think about my progress, lack thereof, and sketch out a new plan of attack for the next day to make sure that I was achieving my goals. Because of my retail background, what surprises me is that we never had an evaluation tool for our teaching that was focused on student achievement before Compass. Our goal in teaching has always been the same and is the reason everyone I know entered this profession, to help children learn and grow through being a great teacher. But we were never before now given a tool to look at our numbers, think about our progress, and effectively sketch out our next plan of attack to help the kids learn. That's why I support Act 1, because it makes student achievement the focus of my work as a teacher. It gives me the opportunity to see how I am doing and to make changes that will result in student achievement. And it makes sure that great, effective teachers are recognized and rewarded. In 2010-2011 school year, 98% of public school teachers in Louisiana earned satisfactory evaluations, yet 30% of Louisiana schools scored below grade level. I'm glad that we finally have a model that evaluates our performances based on student achievement, and I think it is our job to make sure that students and teachers have the tools, resources, and support they need to be great teachers. I speak here today in support of Act 1, the rigorous standards for teachers, evaluating teacher performance, and rewarding effective teachers who are helping children learn. I stand here today in support of Act 1 because I refuse to have any of our children below grade level, and we consider that satisfactory.
Good morning. My name is Bree Quinn, and I'm a fourth-year teacher, 3 of which have been spent here in East Baton Rouge Parish. In my time as a teacher, like most teachers, I've worn many different hats, from coaching 3 sports, being on every committee I could possibly be on, teaching several different subjects, including special ed, always receiving the highest of marks on my evaluations and receiving various awards and accolades. But most importantly, I have consistently operated with the belief that every single one of my students could and would learn in my classroom. And my results always proved that they did. Given high expectations, my students never cease to reach the bar, and they never cease to amaze me. This will help you to understand why it was disheartening for me to be let go in my first 2 years as a teacher in East Baton Rouge, simply because of years' experience. Each time this happened, I was touched when my administrators and parents and colleagues had to fight tirelessly to keep me at their school, because they knew that at the end of the day, I was always going to do whatever it took to ensure student achievement. But it saddened me that my principal and colleagues had to fight so hard just to keep effective staff at their school. This happens all too often in Louisiana. Highly effective teachers who are seeing significant gains with their students are let go, while less effective teachers stay, simply because of one factor: years' experience. Now, don't get me wrong, each year I've learned a great deal from veteran teachers who've inspired me, comforted me, and given me frank advice when I didn't want it but needed it. Many I still call on today. I respectfully submit that there's definitely something to be said about experience, and I'm eternally grateful from what I've learned and continue to learn from more experienced teachers. But experience alone does not determine whether a teacher is effective at helping students learn. This is why I support Act 1. I believe it's time for us to appreciate teaching as a profession and reward great teachers for a job well done. Teachers are charged with the most important job, educating our future, so they're prepared for a successful life in a world that seems to get more confusing, daunting, and challenging every day. As such, teachers, like other professionals, need to be evaluated on their performance, given timely feedback to get better at educating our children, and rewarded when students in their classroom are making significant gains, not fired or let go because of the justification of one reason. Act 1 helps us change the message we've been sending to our students. Because of Act 1, I can go back to my classroom today and tell our children that we believe in each and every one of them so much that we're doing our part to ensure every single one of them receives the most important thing they need to learn: an effective teacher. My hope is that we can all join together, embrace Act 1, and focus on implementing it well for our teachers and, most importantly, our students.
Let me now introduce Eric Lewis of Vail, and Bridget Nealon of Labby.
Good morning, everyone. So on behalf of the Black Alliance for Educational Options, the leading advocacy organization for low-income black families in this country, and particularly here in Louisiana, we stand in support of Act 1. You know, as we went through the legislative session and we fought for a number of different packages that would help to improve the quality of education and the learning environments that children were receiving in this state, Act 1 was a critical part of that. And so now to have legislation that gives superintendents the flexibility to innovate and lead their school districts, that gives principals the autonomy to run their schools in innovative ways, and then to give teachers the capacity to be treated as professionals and have professional development that can set them apart. We think this is a very powerful tool to not only empower schools, but also to ensure that parents have access to high-quality learning environments. And so while others, such as the teachers' unions, will continue to try to stand and block things that are being done to improve the quality of education in our state, we stand with these groups today to continue to fight and ensure that every parent will have access to a high-quality learning environment. We also want teachers to understand that this has never been about bashing or destroying the teaching profession. One of the things that we have to realize and understand is that when we go through college, we all come in and we're all taking some of the same courses, but yet after 4 years we graduate and we tell teachers that they are no longer professionals, because if we go into any other area, such as engineering or law or any other practice, everybody gets evaluated on an annual basis. And so there are evaluation systems that allow the cream to rise to the top. And so for years we have told teachers that they should be treated differently. And so we believe that teachers are professionals. We believe that Act 1 sets us on that path of treating teachers as the professionals that they are. And so again, that's why we stand in support of it, and we will not back down until every teacher has the opportunity to be treated as the professionals we so richly believe that they are.
Thank you and good morning. I'm Bridget Nealon with the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. Our association works to ensure that every citizen in Louisiana has the education that allows them to obtain a high-paying job with benefits that can support a family and provide a good quality of life. I'm proud to be able to stand next to Stand for Children, who with their parents, professional educators, and citizen supporters do indeed work every day to stand for children, for every child in Louisiana. We strongly supported Act 1 in the legislature this past session because we know, and you do too, that a high-quality teacher is the key to educational success. We are here again to support Act 1 and any challenges that may come to it by those who put adult needs ahead of children's needs. Act 1 goes a long way to ensuring that every child has a great teacher. A teacher determines a child's success. We must recognize these great teachers and provide incentives for them to stay in the classroom, and Act 1 does that. It also makes it harder for ineffective teachers to hide behind their seniority by giving principals and superintendents the ability to hire great teachers and remove the bad ones. And there are a few bad ones. In order for us to be prepared for the jobs and careers of tomorrow, every single child must receive a high-quality education that makes sure they graduate from high school prepared for college and the workforce. We look forward to seeing the outcome of today's hearing, and will continue our efforts relentlessly together to give every child a great teacher.
Thank you. I want to thank all of you for joining us here today. Today is but one moment, and regardless to the outcome, we must not waver in our efforts together to give every child a great teacher and to give great and effective teachers the recognition and the support they deserve. Regardless of today's struggles and challenging transitions, we must not waver from our united goals, nor from doing what is right. We are merely but at the beginning of more hard work that lies ahead, and to take care of those that matter the most, our children. I'm reminded of a great quote by Martin Luther King Jr. that reads, "Our lives begin to end when we become silent about what things matter the most." Let us not become silent, but let us continue to join together, speak out, and stand together, united in our work for what matters most, and that is our children. Thank you all for your participation, and happy holidays.